In this Power City weekly live stream, we're going to be getting into the lay of the land in DeFi and crypto and having a look at a few various things. But before we get into that, let me bring up my partner in crime, Just Ask Jesse, in the house as always.
Hey, y'all.
Good to see you, man. Another week in crypto, another more things to talk about. Bitcoin is, let's have a look here, is struggling to get a, I mean, it was around 100 for a bit. We've dipped quite a bit to 95. Ethereum, the stable coin that it is for the last 5 years.
You know, it's really funny because if you go to Chat GPT or DeepSeek or some AI and you ask it, what was the average price of Ethereum for over the last 5 years? And it will tell you almost the same exact price for 5 years in a row. Okay, it's quite sad. Yes, it went up. Yes, it went down a lot. But we're talking about average price. It really hasn't moved at all.
But there is an upgrade coming in April. Have you heard this?
Okay, how many upgrades have we had in 5 years?
I'm clutching at straws. But apparently, I don't know, from what I've read, you tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, Pector or something is going to help with competing with other layer ones, something along these lines. So
we'll see what happens. Remember when everyone said, oh, what about the gas fees? You know, they had multiple different upgrades that were supposed to help with the gas fees. And then, of course, when they became went to a different type of blockchain, it also didn't help, right? They went from, they became what they are now, and it didn't help one single bit. Gas prices are still outrageously high. So if they say, oh, we're going to help with the fees now, or we're going to help, bring more money into ETH, we'll believe it when we see it, right? There's only so much you can code in, because the reality of a crypto is it's just a digital it's just a little digital marker that somebody can purchase. They can own a quantity of, and if there's not enough demand for that little digital marker, the price just goes down compared to other ones that demand is higher for. You can try and code this, you can try and code that, you can try and funnel fees this direction or that direction, but if the demand's out there, none of it helps. Like even buy and burns and all these crazy things don't necessarily help if the demand is not there. You've got to have the demand. You've got to have new people. You got to have tons of money flowing in for these things to go up in value.
A lot of it sounds good on paper, right? But then when the rubber, meets the road, it doesn't work out exactly how it thinks it's going to work out. Like we talked about before, right?
Right, exactly.
Buy and burns and what's not. They sound good, but not always. Doesn't always correlate to price action.
See, the interesting thing about a buy and burn, you're taking value away from somebody to purchase a token that some other people may like, and not even giving that token to those people. You just burn it, right? So who are those people you're taking the value away from on the front side to even do that? It's the same users that probably like that other thing, right? So if there's people on Pulse Chain, for example, and we say the core coins are, we'll say Hex, PulseX, maybe Ink, and then of course the coin itself, which is Pulse, right? Most people are speculating in those things, and then you get the people who play with all the other little memes and whatever else that pops up on Pulse Chain. And while those may buy and burn PulseX, the same people own PulseX already, most likely, right? So you're taking value away from them on the front side to then give to do what? To buy the price up ever so slightly for thousands and thousands of other people. And the effects of that necessarily aren't always there, right? You don't that person doesn't feel it. The thousands of people, it's such a small amount that they also don't feel it. Maybe there's some deflation. Maybe the total coin count goes down over time, but does that actually help either? Look, Bitcoin inflates constantly. and it's almost $100,000 a piece, and it came from way down below a penny, and it constantly inflates. So show us, anybody out there, show us a token that actually has proved that deflationary cryptos are the cause of a price going up. They're not. As I said before, it's all about the demand of a token. All these other schemes can help funnel a narrative that may trigger some demand, that may cause people to say, "Oh, I like that narrative. That sounds right," and then people start piling in because they believe some narrative. But on the other side, there's other tokens that have the exact opposite narrative, and they also have people piling in, right? So, for example, Bitcoin inflates, but people are piling in because they believe it becomes more rare over time because the inflation lessens over time. Okay. Meanwhile, you have, and it goes up in value throughout the years. Okay. And then you also have other tokens that are completely deflationary. I've seen tokens that have deflated like 99% of their supply. And maybe they go up for a while, but they also go down because people get bored and they move on to other things. And those other things that people normally migrate over to are the big ones like Bitcoin, Ethereum. We hope someday Pulse will be one of those big things that people migrate over to and just park once they're done playing with other things. That's yet to be determined.
You're right, though. It is about supply and demand, as always, since the beginning of time. And now we're just doing it with, like you said, little digital bits of information. Are you bullish on eHex? What do you think of Andre's comment here?
Bullish on eHex. Well, not entirely. Okay. So, I mean, the founder himself blatantly explained how
his choice, right?
He literally made his choice. He's not bullish on it either, right? He tried to get everyone to leave eHex and come over here. And look, you can argue all day long it's some weird 7D chess game that he's playing. There's no 7D chess. The gas prices are crazy over there. It costs people a lot of money to end their stakes. The average new person who's going to come in and experiment with $100 or a couple $100 is going to lose their entire stake. So all that's left are big players. The big players are already in the game, right? Are they coming in with new money, or are they showing us? And you can read all about different whales in the ecosystem that are either, that are maybe are selling, right? If somebody's got millions and millions of dollars of a token, the likelihood that they're buying more is very slim. They're probably selling their yield, right? Or selling some tokens whenever the opportunity arises. Maybe that's why Richard stepped in and he, annihilated that yield to try and slow that down. So maybe price can go up a little bit easier. So if the small players can't get in because the gas is too high on ETH, and the big players already have tons of coins, right? And they're making yield and selling their yield. Like, who's left? Who's left to convince, right? When it's so much easier to come over to Pulse Chain, where it is cheap, the gas prices are not a hindrance. There's a little bit of barrier to entry because it can be difficult to get into Pulse Chain. It can be an explanation, holding somebody's hand to teach them how to come over to Pulse Chain. We have tools in POWERCITY to help with that. Portal X, swap.io, for example, very fast and easy to come into Pulse Chain. But for the average person to come into Pulse Chain, it's very difficult, right? But it is cheap. So
it is, once you're in, it's going to be.
I personally, if you ask me to pick between the two, I'm going to say, it's going to have to be the Hex on Pulse Chain. It has to be.
I think so. I agree. And we have David Foster here asking or stating the bull run can't charge until Pixel Park is live. When Pixel Park?
So it's on its way. it looks like we received some correspondence over the last couple of days. The last stages of the audit look to be complete. We're reviewing through those now. There's some handoff stuff we got to do with that code, and then going through a launch sequence whenever we're ready for that. And wouldn't it be great if something like Pixel Park was like the triggering factor to some sort of bull market on Pulse Chain? That would be excellent. There are some cool tools in addition to Pixel Park that you'll see that are really neat. Some tools to help you mint things easily and create collections and do all sorts of things to just make a full-on amazing experience with NFTs and even sound and music and stuff. So it's been a long road, a little bit more to go. We'll launch and see what it does for Pulse Chain.
Like you said, it'd be great if it could be the catalyst for a bull market. I don't know if you remember, but when we launched Earn, I don't know if it was the coincidence, but PulseX started ripping, right? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know for how long, but it was ripping quite a while. So, you know,
right.
Let's keep our fingers crossed that Pixel Park can be the lucky charm for the whole crypto, especially the Pulse Chain ecosystem bull market. Another thing I want to touch on, this came up with an issue with the stability pool with Liquidity V2. Right? Did you hear about this?
Yeah. So I briefly read about it. So Liquidity V2 is quite complex. It uses a bunch of exterior protocols, and it basically attaches itself to all sorts of other protocols to stake tokens for you. Somewhere in there's an issue, and they can't resolve it because it's immutable code. So they basically told everyone to unstake from the stability pool. People have asked us in the past, how come you're not doing a Liquidity V2? Well, for one, all those other infrastructure things that we would have to connect to didn't exist on Pulse Chain, and they still don't. But two, it was quite complex and new. And whereas Liquidity V1 is actually quite simple, and it wasn't new. You know, it was a few years old by the time we launched. Heavily audited, been through multiple bear and bull markets, and really shown that it can survive, right? So we said, we're not going to do this V2 thing. We'll see how that plays out. We'll watch it from the sidelines, but we're just going to go with V1 because it's safer and it's what works for Pulse Chain. So the issues that Liquidity is having with their V2, none of you will see that with any of our things. You're not going to see that with Earn Protocol. You're not going to see that with Flex Protocol. You're also not going to see that with Liquid Loans Protocol or our front end, which is the amplifier.
Yep, because obviously they're V1, right? And this is V2. And just like you said, V2 is more complicated. We will just, like many things in life, it's good to watch how things play out, especially when other teams are launching things and find what issues there are and what's not. So to reiterate, Flex and Liquid Loans are all V1 forks, and therefore this doesn't relate to any of these protocols. So if you have some PLSX or some HEX and you want to take a loan, Flex and Earn running flawlessly since inception last year. Another thing, did you see this?
Yeah. You know, one thing that caught my eye on that, they mentioned some billions of dollars, right? And they have to be referring to the market cap, right?
Yeah.
So it is a little bit misleading. Sure, he did the wrong thing. He shilled the token. He shouldn't have done that. It rugged. I'm sure he's at fault in some way or another. But they are wrong on this a little bit, at least a little bit, because there's not like billions of dollars missing from crypto. And Richard's tried to talk about this over a few tweets. This topic comes up quite often, how the market cap is not how much money is disappearing when something rugs, right? You can have a multi-billion-dollar market cap, and all that's in the liquidity pool to get out of there is like $10. Okay, like literally.
Isn't it last sold price times circulating supply?
Correct. So, but that doesn't tell you what's in the liquidity pool, right?
Yeah.
In the liquidity pool could be $10 worth of tokens. It could be $1 million worth of tokens, $5 million worth of tokens, but it's never going to be billions of dollars worth of tokens, right? So, you know, if somebody's got a large supply and they sell, first off, they're going to eat a lot of slippage. But even if they drain that liquidity pool, it's not like they drain billions of dollars worth of tokens. So
I think many people don't understand that, right? They hear market cap $1 billion, 4 billion, and they think there's $4 billion floating around, right? And we've talked about this before. The market cap, like if everyone did a bank run or everyone sold their Bitcoin, right? That whatever the market cap is at the moment, the market cap for Bitcoin, what is it right now? It's over $1 trillion, right? Just hang on, let me just share this tab. Is that $1 trillion? Right? Yeah. So the market cap right here, there's not a, is it 1.8?
1.8 trillion. Okay. Who knows what could come out of there?
Exactly.
50, who knows, 50 billion? Maybe.
Sure.
I don't know, 25 billion. A billion? I'm sure more than a billion. Okay. But before that thing like goes to zero, like it's going to be somewhere in the, I don't know, a billion. If somebody sold $1 billion worth of Bitcoin right now on the open market on an exchange, okay, the price would just like go down a lot. Maybe other people would scoop it back up out of speculation. But, you know, the thing is, these other tokens maybe don't have as much speculation as Bitcoin does, right? So if a random token were to do the same thing and some big player, some big whale, on Libra token, for example, like what we saw, if he goes and sells, all right, it's just going to head to zero and people aren't going to speculate and buy it back up. Next thing you know, it went from billions of dollar market cap down to almost nothing. How much did that guy get away with? I don't know, a couple $1,000,000 at most. But it's not like there's billions of dollars missing out of crypto when that happens.
Yeah, I think they're confused with the market cap there. Talking about selling and moving the price, if you're holding PLS or HEX or EARN, you don't have to sell right in a bull market, even if you're seeing some nice price appreciation, correct?
You don't have to sell. So there's the alternative is you literally just take a loan out against it. If the price of this thing goes up, right, check it out. There's several strategies, and you're welcome to do whatever strategy you want. Some people like to take loans when the price is low because then they think, oh, the value can only go up from here, right? So their collateral health keeps increasing. They can keep minting new stables along the way through the entire bull market. They've got those stables staked. They're earning a yield. Okay, cool. That's one strategy. Another strategy is don't do anything at all and wait till the price is up a lot. And then say, you know what? We've had a heck of a good run with this token, with PulseX, for example. I'm going to sell some. Oh, wait, I don't have to sell. Let me just mint stables against it, mint a whole crap load of stables. Okay? That way, if the price does keep going up, I still got the PulseX. But if the price goes down like I think it's going to go down, no big deal. I just had a great stop loss and I've got all these stables, right? Already, right? So it's like I sold, but I took that chance that it could keep going up, right? And you can set your health wherever you want in that effort when you do that. But an alternative to selling is simply collateralize it. And we'll see how many people start collateralizing as the pulse chain starts to tear, which we hope it will.
I was explaining this to a friend who's more of a legacy finance guy. And when the penny dropped for him, he basically said, so hang on, I'm risking 10% of my stack for infinite upside.
Correct. That's exactly how it works. That's exactly how it works.
I said, yes. 10% for infinite upside. Where before you sell, like you said before, Jesse, you're in profit, but no more price appreciation for you, right? If it carries on running.
Right. And check this out. Depending on how big your stack is, especially after a big run, selling your whole stack could incur a 10% slippage. right? As it is, sometimes like you may go try and sell a token and you'll see, oh, it's got 2%, 3% slippage or whatever. What happens when you're holding $1 million worth of PulseX and you go to sell it? What are you going to face? 6, 7%, 10%? I have no idea. 10%? So an alternative to that is mint all the stables. And then, like you said, 10% risk, because if it goes down, you're going to lose those. But if it goes up, you get to keep them. Infinite upside.
And just to reiterate for people that might not be, too up to date with how things work, this is not, when you get liquidated, this is not like on bit by bit or one of those leverage exchanges where you have to pay things back. This is, you got your stables at the beginning, and that never has to be paid back. So, it's up to you if you want to pay that back and collect your collateral. But if you get liquidated, you're risking 10% always, right? That's the max you can risk.
Think of it this way. This is going to sound funny, but imagine taking a loan out against like a car. All right. And the bank says, oh, okay, I'll give you, 15 grand for your car. Because maybe it'll become a classic over time and maybe it'll go up in value. All right. But it turns out that the car has a ton of flaws and nobody wants it. And it starts going down in value a whole lot. And the bank says, oh crap, this car's not going to be worth anything next week. Nobody wants it. It's got all these safety flaws. It's got, people are literally chopping them up. They don't want them anymore. So we have to take it from you. So they take your car from you, but you already have the 15 grand. Maybe that's the closest example I can come up with. You're getting rid of something. You're taking a chance. You're minting some stables as a form of a stop loss, for example. And if the collateral takes a huge dump and nobody wants it anymore and everyone's selling it, you had an excellent stop loss because you literally took out a ton of stables against that, which you own, you keep, you do whatever you want with at that point. However, if it does go the other direction and the value just keeps going up and up and up, you still have the stables and the PulseX, and you can mint more stables or you can withdraw that excess PulseX. Infinite upside for a 10% downside risk. And you can set your collateral health wherever you want to feel as safe as you want to be.
And if you time the market correctly, like you've talked about, you'd be able to buy back in the more amount of collateral for less, right? So you might end up with more if you're still holding your stables and the market dumps bad, maybe much worse than where you got in. You could maybe end up with more collateral for less, right?
Absolutely. Maybe everyone else is dumping, but you still believe in it, right? So you say, you know what, that thing just took a 30-40% dump, and I did get liquidated because I set my health at a place where it would get liquidated around there, and you just take your stables and buy them back, and you have 30% more tokens than you started with. So it's not even, you can't even consider it a 10% risk because the odds of it only going down exactly to your liquidation point are pretty slim. It's probably going to go a little further, right? So you can literally buy back in. I'm not going to say it's completely risk-free, and there's other things you have to consider. There's these things called redemptions, which is not a liquidation. But even with redemptions, the price goes up and the price goes down. And that's $1. That's not even a 10% risk. That's $1 for dollar. Like somebody simply wants to redeem their stables for $1 worth of the collateral. And essentially the system is exchanging that for them. So there are risks, but sometimes those risks can actually be rewards. You need to study the system and understand how it works.
Food for thought in this hopeful bull market this year. If you're holding Hex, Earn, or PLS, there's ways to sell without selling, or like you said, getting infinite upside for possible 10% risk. Let's end it on that note. Good to see you, Jesse, and we'll catch you same time next week.
All right. See y'all.
Thanks for watching, guys. And for any of our live dApps, you can find the correct links in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.